Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. It is going to be a work day in the garden for me, and I thought it might be fun if we just strolled around and I'll show you how my garden is actually very much a workplace. So it's not just a garden for show that I use for videos and for tours and things. In this way, it's probably very much like your own garden. So I thought it would be fun to kind of just show you some of the things that make it a work garden and what I'm going to be doing today, because it's very pretty out and it's not windy. The rains have come through. There's some cleanup to be done, but I want to show you kind of the fun side of living a gardening life, because these are things that I really do and that I love about gardening that you don't always get to see when I do videos and things. So number one, for example, this is my myrtle stand that's right outside my kitchen door. And by the way, this terraced stand, you guys always ask me about it, is from Gardener Supply. But I keep two things right by the door. I keep sunscreen by the door, and I keep a thermometer this time of year because I want to make sure that I know exactly what the temperature is, because and I know especially some of you guys have even had freezing or near freezing temperatures with danger of frost. Now again, I've talked about excess in my newsletter, that I have way too many pots. They're not necessarily in the right place, and I need to move a lot of them around, and I'll do that today, hopefully with the help of hubs. A lot of my myrtles and things are scattered about because we're chasing the sun. I have a very shady garden, as you guys know, and so sometimes those myrtles have to chase the sun. This has been one of our favorite places to sit. I've had some business meetings and things out here because we can spread the chairs. I call this the Bistro Area. Social distancing. The cushions are up like that because they're wet and need to dry out. And I just had a meeting last week there. I've been working a little bit on the boxwoods over here. And the boxwood, I guess the boxwood theater, let's call it the boxwood theater. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. But what I really want to show you is stuff that I'm going to be doing in the potager today. I had a social distancing little gathering last night, and I love having furniture that's lightweight and portable enough that I can move it about the garden. It was cool last night, so portable furniture I think is really important. You can follow the sun, just like my myrtle topiaries. The other thing I like about this furniture is that it is, and these are qualities I think to look for when you're looking at outdoor furniture, that it's lightweight but it's still stable. So in our high winds, it doesn't blow over. There is, I probably need to do a tour next week of just the Larkspur, because the Larkspur is all coming into bloom. It's a little bit late this year, and it is one of those self-seeders that I kind of let self-seed with abandon, and then I edit out accordingly. I'm going to cut actually a huge bouquet of it this morning to bring inside. There's the yucca. It's got a bloom on it, you guys. I like to shoot typically, I mean, the garden looks very much better on days when it's cloudy, but the fact that it's a beautiful morning, I think, compensates for the fact that the light is uneven. This Blue Point juniper is getting shaggy, and it's time for me to reestablish some order. The other thing that I'm noticing and we'll have to address is a lot of the boxwood. We had a very, very heavy thunderstorm the other night, and it opened up a lot of the boxwood. So I'm going to do some fluffing and puffing on that to try to reestablish the form. It knocked down a bunch of the iris. They're about finished anyway. And you can see that I was naughty and I left my pruners out. There's my iced tea from yesterday. So this is all very much just, it's things are just everywhere. And I'm going to try to reestablish a little bit of order today. Some of the things that are in smaller pots I'm going to plant in the ground or consolidate into larger pots. But what I wanted to show you, and I can't believe it's almost already time for another trim in the potager. There's my beloved lavender. And I think a little bit later, I've got a pot of lavender right there. And I wish you guys were here to give me an opinion. I'm thinking about planting it on the opposite side where that shovel is. I'm also thinking about removing these 2 columnar boxwoods from in front of these posts. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. My thinking on it, whether or not I'll do it, is still questionable. Look how pretty the sun rays look, cascading down onto the boxwood. But this is what I'm going to do today, you guys. I already harvested all of the Latin kale out of that quadrant. I need to replant it. But look at this gorgeous winter boar kale. This is one of my very, very favorite edibles in terms of its just sheer beauty. I mean, look at that. I sometimes cut bouquets to bring inside. I like the flavor of it, but mostly I like the way it looks. And then I underplanted it with some lettuce that you can see I've already harvested some. So pretty soon I'll harvest most of that and replant that area because I need to find a space for my tomatoes. My potager is small, but it serves the needs of just Hubs and I. And I think that's what a potager should be. It should be adaptable and it should serve the needs of its steward. So I'm very much the chatelaine of my own garden. I have still just a few poppies out that are really lovely. It's hard to capture them in this bright sunlight. But look at that dark purple marking there. Beautiful red, intense gorgeousness. Here's a double form over here. Red is extremely saturated and is very difficult to capture by the camera. Already the alliums have started to dry out, but look at the larkspur. The towering larkspur is going to be everywhere pretty soon, and I love it. It is a very reliable self-seeder that comes back every year. The other thing I'm going to harvest today is my very favorite green, and that's arugula, and I have a bunch of it. You guys have asked why I have these metal cages over some things in my garden. It's because I try to protect it from the squirrels. But I've got a bunch of arugula in here that I'm gonna cut and make a salad with today. And like I say, it's almost time for another pruning in the potager. Again, it's very much a living thing, a living stage for our daily lives. There's my husband's weights over there. These are just off of his office and studio in the back. I just thought it might be fun to show you guys some ways that we actually use our garden as an outdoor room or as an outdoor living space, especially now before it gets too hot. Obviously that will change a little bit. I've got some, just tidying up to do things to put away. The other thing I want to show you, which I will show you more closely later in greater detail, is after all of this allium foliage dies back, after it browns and dies back, it does create a void in here, but hiding in the back in front of that trellis is a great big brown turkey fig. I love the leaves on that, and it will be huge by the end of the summer. It will be magnificent, and I love those huge, bold, graphical leaves. Makes me happy. So I'm going to go in. I'm in my pajamas now. I'm going to throw on some clothes and I'm going to come out and harvest some of this stuff so that we will have it for dinner tonight. It will probably be a perfect evening for grilling. And I'm looking around and thinking, oh, I've got so much to do. I get a little panicky. But there is time. And I'll talk some later about my strategy of how I work in the garden, particularly during seasons when I'm feeling overwhelmed because there's just so much to do. Even in a small garden, there's always just so much to do. So I guess I better get at it. You guys have a wonderful Saturday. Be safe and be well.